Yes, it's true. I'm not hiring a doula for my birth or postpartum. I feel like such a hypocrite because I am a doula. But please let me explain. When I've briefly mentioned to people that I won't be having a doula, they always say, "Oh, that makes sense. You are a doula, so you already know it all." That is definitely not the reason why I'm not having a doula. As much as I might know, that's not going to help me when I'm the one in labor and in pain and in need of support. Right up front, I want to say, I fully believe in doulas and the support and guidance that they give to a woman and her partner during birth and postpartum. One of the reasons I love doulas is because they provide continuation of care. You build a relationship with them and they're somebody you trust. Because a lot of women don't realize that when they go in for a hospital birth, whether they have an OB or a midwife, it's very often they won't know anybody in the room. So you have nurses coming in and out who you don't know, and then your doctor only comes and checks on you maybe a few times, and then is mainly there for the pushing stage. And you'll get the doctor you signed up with, if you're lucky, if they're on call. But it could be another doctor. And same with midwives. Oftentimes you have a midwife practice and you might see that midwife a few times, maybe only once during your pregnancy, and that happens to be the midwife who's on call when you go into birth, and that's who you're with. So it's very likely you're in a room of no one you know, but a doula is somebody you do know and somebody you trust, and that relationship is really important. Not to mention the physical and emotional support that a doula provides. And this is even valuable in a home birth, because if you have a midwifery practice, it's also not a guarantee that you'll have that midwife that you maybe want. It'll be whoever's on call. A doula is also an advocate for your birth wishes. So often, especially some of my clients who I worked with as a doula, they felt like they were swimming upstream against the protocols and stuff of the hospital or even certain midwives. And even the simple things like wanting intermittent fetal heart monitoring or delayed cord clamping felt like they had to really push their wishes to have them be heard. Even simpler things like having dim lights or eating during labor or wearing your own clothes. You feel like you're going against the grain and rubbing the nurses the wrong way sometimes. But if that's what you want, you have every right. And a doula can help reestablish and advocate for you and help remind you of what your wishes are during your birth. A lot of my doula clients also were limited on what doctor they could even choose because of the insurance that they had. And so I've had clients who really did not like their doctor, and that made a big difference of not feeling safe and like they're respected. And doulas are a great ally to have during that so that you feel heard and respected. Okay, so I just professed my love for doulas, so why the heck am I not having a doula? Few reasons. I have hired a solo midwife. So what that means is it's one midwife. I'm going to see her throughout my whole pregnancy, and she will guaranteed be at my birth unless there's some really rare chance that she's severely ill or has a family emergency. So this solves that continuation of care issue that a doula solves as well. I've also chosen to give birth at home, and this solves a lot of the feelings of swimming upstream and rubbing against the hospital policies. This can even happen at a home birth with certain midwives if you don't fully align with their way and their philosophies. And so I've specifically chosen a midwife who I fully align with and trust 100%, and the way she lets birth happen is how I want it to happen. So I don't feel the need for an advocate at my birth. She also comes for the entirety of the labor, and decides to go rest or eat, but then I'll have my husband there to support me as well. So that's really rare even in Dutch midwives, just this length that she actually spends with me as a doula would. She's even very experienced with essential oils and hypnobirthing and other comfort measures that a doula is experienced with. And if the scenario arises where I do need to transfer to the hospital, she actually will come with me and serve as my doula in the hospital. Most midwives are completely covered by insurance here, and thankfully mine is as well, so my whole birth is technically free, which is amazing. But my midwife does ask for an additional fee because of the extra care that she gives, and because we have longer prenatal visits, and because she stays for the entirety of the birth. And so it's not even that I don't want to pay for a doula. I'm actually paying an additional €1,000. That would be my doula budget to go for having a solo midwife. And then I do plan on training my husband and all that I've learned as a doula. And so I'm really confident that I'll have the support from him and the knowledge that we've gained and the support from my midwife. So I'm really feeling set up for success for my birth. If all this wasn't the case, I would 100% have a doula at my birth. And I still recommend them to all my friends because it's very rare, especially my friends in America, to have a solo midwife or to have a birthing situation that I am gonna have here. So a lot of friends have to pay out of pocket for a home birth midwife, and then in addition they have to pay for a doula, and that can be a lot. So I feel very fortunate to be able to have this setup that really aligns with my values. If you have given birth with a solo midwife and regret not having also a doula, let me know, because I can always change my mind. But so far, this is what I've decided on. And what about a postpartum doula? This is my favorite work I did as a doula, was my postpartum clients, and I believe it's a service that every woman deserves. And I feel very fortunate that, again, the Dutch government actually provides a postpartum doula / she's actually also a nurse to come after my birth for 8 days for like 6 to 8 hours a day to do postpartum doula work, which is so amazing. It sounds like too good to be true. It's almost free. It's like €4 an hour, and I'm really looking forward to having that support right after birth, especially because my parents, my mom and my dad, are planning on coming 2 weeks after my due date. So who knows when I'll give birth, but at least they'll be there eventually as well. So this angel that you're provided is called a kraamzorg, and you could be randomly assigned one, and you could even have 2 different kraamzorgs during your 8 days after birth. But I also was fortunate enough to find a solo kraamzorg, so I've already met her. I'm gonna meet her one more time before birth, so we kind of have a relationship, and it'll be her throughout my whole postpartum week. And then again, my parents are coming 2 weeks after the due date, so I'll have them. And I know for some people, having your parents visit is actually adding more stress, but I feel very fortunate that I know it's going to be a lot of help. So I'm really glad they're able to come help. And then like a few weeks after that, my mother-in-law and father-in-law are coming. So I feel very supported. And also my husband gets 2 weeks off work, fully paid, so he'll be there. And the Dutch government actually just passed a new paternity leave law where he gets an additional 3 weeks and on top of his 2 weeks that his work gives him. It's at 70% of his pay, but he can use that to fill in if there are any gaps between parents visiting and just if I'm feeling in need. We have that flexibility as well, that he can be here. And then I also have lots of postpartum doulas I know throughout my doula networking, and so I have their contact information, and if I feel that I need, support during these off weeks where I don't have anybody supporting me, I will for sure reach out to them and see who's available to come help for a few hours a week. So that's my explanation. I hope I didn't alarm too many of you. And I would love to hear from you if you had a doula at your birth and what that experience was like.